Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another fun formative assessment webinar. We're going to talk about Pear Deck today. Pear Deck is such an incredible tool. If you have not used it, you're in for a treat. And some of you have maybe dipped a toe in it with some of your familiar faces from the course that we offered earlier this year. We did a little assessment with Pear Deck. Pear Deck is fantastic whether you are working like we are today virtually, and if you're working asynchronously or synchronously, or if you are also in person. It's a multifaceted Swiss Army knife of a tool. You can use it for your whole lesson. You can pull it out just for a little fun at the end to get a little exit ticket going. So this is going to work a little differently. And I was talking with Todd this morning. This is either going to go really well and smoothly, or it's going to be a giant bomb. We're not really sure which, but we're going to have you join as a student. I'm going to pop into the chat a link for you.
Should we give them a minute if they want to get a second device?
Yeah.
It might be good to get a second device.
You're either going to have to, if you want to see the teacher view. So this is my teacher view screen in Pear Deck while I'm presenting. Actually, no, it isn't. I'm going to have to stop presenting and pull out the other one. I want to show you the teacher view, and I want you to experience the student view. So you can play with the tools and you can do the fun things that the kids will be able to do, but you'll be able to see exactly what it is that the kids see. All right. That is the teacher view. So I had it right the first time. All righty.
Well, that's the most important part. We want to see how it's going to work on the end with the end user.
Yes. So we'll give you just a second to get that loaded up.
Or to run and grab a different device.
And if you are grabbing a different device and you're like, oh, the link is now in the Meet and it's on the other thing, you can go to joinpd.com and you can type in, I love that they do this. This is so cute and it's easy even for little ones. You're going to click join a lesson and you're going to type in TNYBXX for the code. And Pear Deck does this fun thing where you can say over and over again to the kids, no matter what their age, Trembling Ninja's Yearly Bother Xeric X-rays. So they can type that in. It's a little mnemonic to help them remember.
Xeric X-rays?
Yeah, I want to know, is that really a word?
I don't know. I've got a master's degree and I don't know. That's weird.
What's that mean? Yeah, but your master's obviously isn't in the field of Xeric. Is there a field of Xeric? I have a master's degree in Xeric. I don't even know what that means. So here we go. Students are joining with their avatars. I can see that there are 9 students now connected. We're getting there.
Oh, ecology. Containing little moisture or very dry. That's what Xeric is.
Ah. All right. So there's the teacher dashboard. All right. So the way this works is as I click through this, it's going to move your screen automatically. So imagine having little ones that don't know how to fast forward through a slide deck, or teenage kids that want to have a billion other things open, right? And they're like, oh, we're 5 slides behind now. You move the slide deck and they go with you wherever you travel. So a little bit about me. I am Rebecca Edsel. I work for OCM BOCES in their model schools team. And I'm here today with Todd Parks. Introduce yourself, Todd.
Hi, I'm Todd.
He's part of the model schools team as well.
Yes, I work with West Hill School District, Liverpool School District, and all of OCM BOCES.
And I work with the diocese 5 days a week, helping our Catholic schools move forward with technology. So our job is to offer tech tips when we're in schools. We do presentations, we offer summer PD. And so we're really glad to have you here today. If you don't have a model schools person in your buildings or a tech coach, you may want to talk to somebody about working with the model schools team and see if you can get one of us to come to your school 1 day a week, each part of this. We do it for all other tons of other school districts. So if you don't have our services, it might be worth asking about. Anyway, off the sales pitch, onto the next thing.
That was good.
So, oh, good. Maybe I should make a commercial. So is it loading on your end? I just advanced the next
Yes.
slide. Again, I'm not running meet with this on the computer, so this is going to bomb or it's going to be great. So this is the beauty of Pear Deck as well. As the stuff is coming in, I'm seeing the results. So what's your experience with Pear Deck? Awesome.
I'm the one that said I'm already using it.
You better be. You're here presenting with me.
Well, I just didn't want you.
He just wanted lots of colors in the graph today.
That's it.
That's it. Fantastic. So it looks like most of us have seen it being used or that it's new. And Todd is our only expert here. So we'll let him continue the rest of the presentation and work our way
You've got the
through.
controls. I can't auto advance the slides, which is one of the nice things about Pear Deck is that you can make this so that students can do it individually if that's what you wanted to do. But I've always found it to be just that awesome classroom presentation tool where everyone's engaged. Everyone has to be engaged.
Speaking of engagement, this is a drop and drag. So you're going to drag the icon to, do you agree or disagree that students need to be engaged to learn the content? And this is just more for, I would hope that everybody's on the green, right? But it's more to give you an idea of what that looks like. You could do this with a four corners debate. You could do this with a lot of things of voting or a poll where you want it to be anonymously done. You could create a lot of different things with a drag slide, and we'll let you experiment a little bit more with those in a little bit. So what do you think is the biggest barrier to engagement in your classroom? And this one has to do with a lot of things that we're seeing in classes. This is why I offered the SEL course this year with technology. Being wrong in front of their classmates. Looks like it's going to win. We've all experienced that. How many of you were the shy kid in school? I didn't love raising my hand until I got to high school and I realized I was probably going to be right. When you were in elementary school and kids were kind of rough on each other, I didn't raise my hand a lot. Doing work this way allows for your quiet kid who doesn't engage in the back of the room. When I taught at Ithaca, I always had one or two kids in the back with a hoodie on, and they would put their head down for most of class. They were listening, but they weren't engaged to the maximum extent. When I started using tools like this where they could answer covertly and they got feedback covertly, so they weren't on the spot, we started to see them come out like a little turtle out of their shell. And as the engagement increased through time, it was just like any other kid in the classroom. They really needed some time to hit their stride. This tool can really help with that, build connections covertly. So active learning. This is a little bit of a statistic on active learning. Boy, it's really not taking its time coming up for me. I'm having a hard time seeing it on my screen because it's so teeny.
It's up for us.
Oh, good. But isn't it interesting that you could present content in the slide the way you would normally teach? You could be talking about it in the background and students are interacting with it while you're talking about it. Pear Deck allows for teachers to make any presentation interactive, and we're going to talk about how to create great slides before the time is out. So all you have to do is pop activities into slide decks you've already created for your content. So if you already have slides that you use for science or math or social studies, popping Pear Deck in is like an additional add-on to whatever you already have. If you don't have those built in, I would encourage you to start teaching with slides because of Pear Deck, but also because you can do a lot in terms of pacing out your lesson, making sure you incorporate things that when you get observed, they're always looking for. Are you doing a welcoming introduction, some kind of pacing activity throughout to keep them engaged, and then an exit ticket to drive further instruction and check understanding. And when we get observed, they always love to see those three parts. Building it into the slide deck keeps your time steady as well. You feel like you're making momentum forward. And if you ever have to leave the room and you've got a strong student, you can always say, hey, come run the slide deck. I've got to step out and talk to the counselor for a second, right? The content is there and you don't really need to be there to keep it running, which is fantastic as well. So here is what kids see or what teachers see on our end. This is a drawing slide, and it helps us see what guidance is necessary. They took a map and asked what path you think Magellan would have taken to sail around the world. Sounds like an introductory activity, I would hope. And the kids drew the path that they felt mattered. There are names here, but you can show these anonymously. So if we thought that Jax was correct, but we didn't know that he would write his name up on the board, you can throw this to the projector anonymously so that his answer gets shown. Some of the best writing I've ever had happen in my classroom was when I started using a similar product, Nearpod, to throw answers up on the board. And I did it anonymously. So all the kids could read all of the writing at the same time. And then they threw out, like, this is what's great about it. Here's where I would improve with everybody's writing. It all went through the roof because you don't get to read every kid's writing when you're a student. So you have no idea where the playing field is. When they see, oh, that's a great introduction and mine needs to be improved, but I have better content and they need to have theirs more like mine. We're learning from each other. We're taking away the best of what everybody has to offer, which is the best any classroom, I think, can be. So let's see some things that Pear Deck has to offer. They have a section where you can throw in bell ringers for free. You just add in their pre-made activities. So here is one type of bell ringer that they have already set up. Draw or type two things you already know about today's topic.
And so at the bottom, you'll see all the tools. There's the pencil from left to right, pencil highlighter. There's a line tool, your text tool, and then your eraser. And then you have all of your colors that you can play around with.
And as I scroll down, Tiger answered with this. Squirrel is working on it. And that makes me think of EdLaw 2D. If you're going to have students sign in with Google, they need to have an agreement with Pear Deck. If you are a Go Guardian school, you may have licenses for Pear Deck. They are owned by the same company. But if you aren't sure who Tiger is, you could easily have kids put that on an index card and hand it to you at the beginning of class, right? Just let you know who is who really quickly, or create a Google form real quick and have them type the name of whatever they're in. People playing with
everybody's drawing and typing. Yeah, just so you know, if there's anybody that has any questions, I'm just monitoring the chat for Rebecca. So if you need to stop and ask a question, just type it in the chat, or you could turn on your microphone as well.
So as I'm scrolling down here, here's one answer from Tiger. I can star the answer, which kind of marks it for me. I can leave feedback for this person. And what do the three dots do? I can hide it out of view. So if I see that this is not an appropriate response, I can hide it right away. So if I want to show them later, I don't accidentally bring up something that someone has drawn that might not be appropriate to put up on the projector. Someone tried the highlighter.
Nice.
Yeah. Here is an example. We're going to move on to the next one. Here's an example of a type slide, a short answer slide. And I'll leave this up so you can see what the answers look like coming in. Great question, Squirrel. How can I use Pear Deck without it consuming a lot of time? I love that I get to refer to people as Squirrel.
That's what I was, it's kind of weird. I wonder what pufferfish is going to say.
Oh, me too. Hoping they don't get all blown up about it.
That was bad.
Yeah, but it was good. How can I easily incorporate it with already existing lessons? How do I import it into Google Slides? What ages is it appropriate for? And Tiger, I'm going to tell you, everybody can use Pear Deck. I've used it for PD. I have used it with little people. This is appropriate for 100% of human beings that are able to manipulate a computer. Let me add that last part. Although I think even Stephen Hawking could probably find a way to use this from his like wheelchair when he was around. Yeah. All right, let's keep trucking. So getting students engaged during the lesson is another section. These are assessments that pop right into the lesson. Charts, you can incorporate lots of different tools that way. So let's try one of these. That's another, oh, let's try this one. This one is fantastic. There's a diagram. Draw or type to label the diagram. So if you're doing a little science lesson on the parts of bees or insects, and you think you've done a great job of teaching, and now you're going to do that check for understanding. This is where you always like, oh, yes, I hit the mark, or like, wow, were they here today? We've all had that lesson too. Yeah,
Looks
wings.
like every answer is wings.
Yeah. Oh, we got antenna. But if you had a slide deck, you could even take a picture or a screenshot of whatever it is your science curriculum has and use it right out of the textbook, use it right out of the website. So this could be super relevant and matching whatever it is you're going to assess on. Math teachers might like this one. Graph y equals x plus 2. So again, instead of creating the graph paper, making a little ticket for each kid, fitting it into the corner, and then going to the copier, running it all off, you can go right ahead and have it done right on their computer. Does it tell you who has not completed a slide? So if I scroll down here, it does. Goat and Seal are working on their graphs, but 13 of you have not responded, and it shows me the animals that have not responded.
It's a tough question because of the size of the graph, just as a math teacher.
And it's summer. We shouldn't have to do math in the summer. Sorry, math teacher. Even my kids are like, Mom, that's counting. I'm not doing that right now when I'm home. No, Mom, no math. These are great for social emotional learning as well. The next slide is a little, how are you feeling? So in the middle of the lesson, again, you think you're hitting the mark and you look around and everyone seems to be getting it, but you pull this one up and it turns out you get a lot of, I'm a little confused, or like, Mayday, Mayday. I need a lot of help. You can stop and redirect, ask some questions. And you notice that the drag your dot answer all shows up on one slide for your immediate feedback. I don't have to scroll all the way down, but I can also see who has not responded. Here is a drag the flag. You can create different icons or use or select different icons and change the color of them. So if you were doing a lesson on France and England and you wanted them to put the blue flag on France and the red flag on England, you could actually mark that out very easily. Ah, I like the flag over the boat. And as I put my icon over it, you see I can see who answered what. So Mammoth here is the one that made it look really cute. This Swan. Swan's got it on the front. They're a pirate. They've got the flag on the bow. Raise the black. There we go. And it shows me who is their icon where. Quick check for understanding. This one is very powerful. Create a mind map of the central idea and have them draw or write anywhere on the slide. And they also have exit tickets, ways that you can finish out the day or the lesson again and check for understanding. These could be very powerful. In 1 minute, write the most important takeaway from today's lesson. So if you had these up on the projector and you had a couple of kids just really hit it out of the park with what condenses whatever you taught today, what a powerful takeaway. And since you're in the zone of teaching it, hearing from them what they got from it in the moment might be even more powerful for the kids. Mammoth says she should use it in this classroom. I agree.
So we've got a question. Is there a way to export data?
Yes, and we're going to talk about that when we wrap things up. I'm going to move a little quicker because I think we want to get to how to make these next. We've got the gist of how these slides work. I'll just click on these as I go through them so you can quickly see the different templates as they come up. Drawing conclusions. So now we're at the point of where we're going to try it out. So the fastest way to get started with Pear Deck is Google. It works best with Google. I believe there is a way you can add it on to PowerPoint. I've not tried that because I'm a Google user. But if you are a Google user, this is the easiest way to do it. We're going to open up a Google Slides file. We're going to click Get Add-ons, and we're going to find Pear Deck from right in Slides. And it'll open up a toolbar on the side. You'll have to create a Pear Deck account, which is free. There are basic free tools. And I believe for the first couple of months, it's a freemium product, and they're going to give you that teaser trial of all the great paid tools that you're going to want after the fact. But their free version is one of the more robust ones out there. The paid stuff doesn't really give you a tremendous amount of upgrade. You can do almost everything with the free with this one, which is tremendous. Yep. We're going to use our slide library to transform our presentations into conversations. So these are things that pop up right alongside our slide deck. We just choose these activities and they're pre-made, but we can also build our own if we don't find one that really fits. Here in custom questions. So if you have a slide that you've created and you want to add something to it, you can add any one of these things, dropping it right into a slide that you've created. And as you're presenting, these are the things that are down at the bottom for you to see how things are going. How many students have responded, how many students have joined. You can toggle to show the projection of the answers, and you can even lock their screens. So if you want kids to like hands off the computer for a bit, this is a bit like a Go Guardian feature where it locks their screen. You can also on the fly ask a new question. So in the moment, if you didn't think ahead of time to put it in your slide deck, and you're like, wait, I forgot that, you can pop it in at any time, which I love. And opening the dashboard brings up a lot of tools. Go ahead.
No, just for teachers, everyone's always thinking, oh, the students want to ask a question, and we want to be able to have them reach out without maybe raising their hand. I think one of the coolest pieces of this is the teacher side of it, where you're just able to add on the fly.
I'm going to end our session. So you're going to get your screens back because we're going to go into how to make this now. So to end it, when I click the end session at the bottom, it's going to ask me to name it. So if you have multiple periods during the day, you can type in the date and the period there. But if you're teaching like on a special, like a lesson, you could put in the standard, the strand, whatever it is you're going to do to remember it. You can share out the link to help kids review this so that they can pop this in the Google Classroom. If you're going to have a test on it, they can go back to it. You can generate takeaways, which I've not done yet. I'm going to click that because I want to see what it does. And this is a newer feature that Pear Deck put in there. This will create a Google Doc for each student in your session and share. Oh, so this is each of their answers from the whole thing. So it's going to send Mammoth her answers and Snake their answers. That's kind of cool. I wonder, then they would have had to sign in with Google, right? In order to get that information. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm giving permission. Go away, Google. There we go.
We had a question in the meantime about load time and how some students, you know, the Chromebooks or the internet, it could take a long time for things to load. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's the case. I mean, I know working in Liverpool, their Chromebooks are just not of the higher end quality, and it does take a little bit. And sometimes in different schools, there's different drops in the ceiling and where your internet actually is. So
Definitely something to talk about
ju-
your IT with, because you should have access to this tool. It should be working properly. If it's not working properly, don't be afraid to be a squeaky wheel and say, I have this fantastic tool that's going to drive instruction in my classroom. I can't use it because of the internet. And don't be
yeah.
afraid to whisper to your admin about that too.
Rebecca, are you going to show, I'm sure you are, just once again, how do we get the Pear Deck add-on?
Yes. So now that
It's
we've
not
done
there
that,
in slides.
that's the next step. So I'm going to open up Google Slides. I'm going to start not at Google Slides, but actually I'm going to grab a template from Slides Mania. Do you ever use these free template sites? On the last slide of our Fun Formative Assessment webinar slide deck where you got this link, I put in a bunch of free slide templates. You don't have to reinvent the wheel to make really gorgeous slides. I never do. Who's got time, right? So Slides Mania, Slides Carnival, Slides Go, and Canva all have free slides. Todd's like, yes, I'm glad you mentioned Canva. Canva is like in Todd's blood. He loves it. All you have to do is click and go, and it becomes yours to modify however you want. So if I really like this one because of the colors, look how fun. You just click on it.
Yeah, Slides Video is awesome.
If you go down here, you just go through it and you can look at it. This is all customizable. So if you're like, I don't really need a table of contents, you can just delete that slide. But in the meantime, it makes it
The
look
one
like you
thing
were
I
a
would say
wizard.
is, no, there's a lot of buttons though, because it's free. A lot of it is free. There's a lot of ads, so be careful what you click on.
I don't use it with kids
I
for
know
that
in the
reason.
different ones like Slides Go and stuff, just be careful what you click on because it's probably an ad. But just where Rebecca is, when it says to go and go, open in Google Slides, that's what you're looking for pretty much with all of these sites.
And it gives you a weird view when you click on that because you have to click Use Template next. And then it's going to pop it right into my drive. I think it's going to call it Copy of Hauser. What a weird name that is for a slide. No, this is going to call it Hauser. Exciting Slides Mania. They do like for you to leave the last slide as an homage to them. The last slide talks about their site. Other than that, there's not a lot. There's like one tiny little watermark here on the side. All free for us to customize and grab and use however we want. So there you go. You're going to look like a slides wizard with very little work. To get the Pear Deck add-on, now that we're in slides, I'm going to go up to my top menu, File, Edit, View. If you go all the way to the right, almost, Add-ons is right there. You can click all the way down toward the bottom. Next to last is Get Add-ons. And if you've never added on, I'm hoping you have the ability. I don't think your Google admins can lock this down too tightly, but we can see what there is available. Be careful with some of these. They are not all free add-ons. Pear Deck is free. A lot of these are freemium. So they will tell you get 5 free trials and then you can move up. Nearpod, if you like Pear Deck, is a more paid features than not, but it's another version of what Pear Deck can do. So it's a similar competitor. This is installed for me. If it's not installed for you, you click on it and it will open up a place where you can click install right here. And once that's set to go, you can click add-ons again and Pear Deck for Google Slides will be here. But Pear Deck brought it up for me right up here at the top. It's got this cute little pear now when I open up Google Slides.
Megan just asked, how do you get the Pear Deck icon to stay at the top next to your add-ons?
I think you have to create an account and use it. I think that's all I did.
Yeah, just refresh.
But here's that awesome menu. So as I'm building, as I'm customizing and making this slide template my own, I can grab any of these things from over on the side. The template library is where the stuff that Pear Deck has made lives. So here's those bell ringers for the beginning, the assessments for the middle, and the end of lesson exit tickets, all custom made. The thing I always forget is as I go into it this way with these right arrows, to get out of it, you have to go back at the top. So again, template library, beginning of lesson. Oh, we've moved on and I added something, back, and then you're back to the front. You can add audio to slides. So the question was, can kindergartners use this? Yes, they can. Can sixth graders who are ELL use this? Yes, they can. You can add audio to any slide. It's ridiculously easy. You just click loading audio recorder. It'll let you create an audio recording and it pops a button right into your slide. Slides has this as well, but you have to use an external service like Vocaroo, create your own slide audio, and then pop a button in. It's like a 16-step process. Pear Deck makes this once and done. So you could read all of the content on your slides and turn it into an assessment where it's all read to students. Oh, I closed it out. Did that icon start staying for you, Megan? No? Oh, that's a bummer.
Once you become a Pear Deck wizard, you'll get it.
So let's start by adding something. Let's add a bell ringer. And I'm going to go over to the slide that I want it on. Number 1. So let's pick something. What did you learn from homework? And it takes a minute because it's doing an awful lot. It's looking in my drive at this particular slide deck and it's talking to Pear Deck remotely. So it's doing a lot all at once. I can customize this text. What did you learn from homework is highlight. So I can change this to something else. Kids are going to write their response. And as I scroll down here, it shows me in the notes section down at the bottom what it is and how students respond. In order to get rid of this, I need to delete this slide from the deck. So if you're going through and you're like, oh, actually, I really don't love that, you don't work with the slide deck over here, the Pear Deck add-on, you're going to go over to your slides and just delete the slide right out from your slide deck. So let's try that again. We'll make a drop and drag. Working, working, working. There it is. So here's another, how is the homework assignment? But maybe I don't love that question. Maybe I want it to be something else, completely different. I have the ability to modify this text to whatever I want it to be. And it shows the icon that they're going to drag. They're going to get a little dot on the draggable slide.
Yeah, and that piece at the very bottom, that's the piece that you want to make sure that you keep with all of Pear Deck. You know, where the pear is and where it says students drag the icon, that's giving the functionality to the slide. The slide is just a picture.
A slide. Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically, I always, you know, I'm going to date myself when I started teaching, but I always equate it to the overhead where you'd have, you know, your map that you put onto the overhead, and then you had your clear transparency that went over the top because you didn't want to screw up your original copy.
Yes.
And that's exactly what it's doing. We're kind of putting an overlay onto, in this case, their template, but Rebecca, I'm sure, is going to do her own.
You betcha. So maybe I have a quote here. Let's create our own. So if I go back, ask students a question. So here is I want to make my own slide. We talked about the drawing page, how you could put your own science content right in. Maybe I have a powerful quote. It's Martin Luther King week. I find this awesome quote from him or Malcolm X, who's a little more controversial even. And I want to say, like, do you agree or disagree? I can choose any one of these types of slides for students to react to the quote. So by adding text, let's try each of them, see what it does. This shows you what to expect. So this means that the student's device, they'll get a response to prompt. So they're going to be able to type in, and on your projector, you're going to see their displays. So it gives you that already student view, teacher view feel. You click update slide, you get a happy dancing pear while it's working. I love a happy dancing pear. Pear Deck sent me a little pear. It doesn't want to like come through.
I know if we were in person, you had the swag.
And there it is. It brought that bar in, just like Todd was saying. Here's the bar. So it's going to mess with your slides. So as you create them, make sure that you're working on getting the stuff out from the bottom, because it's going to hide that. But this shows you, again, if you're going through your slides later, what is this stuff that I've added? This shows you at the bottom here in the notes section. Choice is the same way. You'll get to functionally change out your choices. I think you get to type in what you want your choices to be. Mama, this is why the guy at the red light wouldn't move. Everything is slow today. Multiple choice slide options. So you get to insert choices. Sure. And it gives me suggestions. Ah, yes, I have. Self-paced anywhere. No, I haven't. I don't know. We're just making it up. And you can add another. So if you're that sneaky teacher that likes to give them like a billion choices and there's only one right answer, you could do that too.
And
I
the one
didn't you
thing that
people to
I've
do that.
noticed with Pear Deck is that it's wonderful for that piece, but it's not a self-grading platform. So
Mm-mm.
if you're doing multiple choice, I know when I first used it doing math, I was like, where's the little checkbox for the right answer so that kids are getting that instant feedback? They're not going to get that. It's more of a tool for them to get feedback at the end or however you give it or
Yep.
on the fly
Metacognitively,
after
they're
you
thinking
finish.
about their thinking.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. A number slide. So again, here's what it looks like on a student device. Here's what goes up on your classroom projector. Dancing pair. So they enter a number. It's going to only accept a number as a response. Great for you math people. Again, you could ask the question and just see their answers. But because this is a everybody doing it at once feel the way we're doing this, I don't think you need to have it self-grading. I kind of wish it were because you could then distribute it as an assessment. But because it's intended for you to be teaching your way through a lesson, I don't think it needs to be self-grading as much.
Yep.
You can, oh, go ahead, Todd. Did you
No,
have
I was
something
just going to say, just be aware of that. Some people look at it,
Mhm.
it's like, Google Forms, or if you've used Nearpod in the past, or you want that instant feedback for students to know if they're correct or incorrect, if they're doing it on their own. Maybe this is something that you don't use, but if you're teaching in class and you just want that feedback and you want to be able to kind of judge the temperature of the room, or I used it a ton with math review to kind of see that what's that question where we gotta stop, pump the brakes, and go back and reteach.
But I thought we had this because we did it like forever, and now you guys don't have it again. Yeah, everyone's got one of those, right?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. That's what makes it a great formative assessment tool. If I want to add a website in here, you can even embed those for kids to investigate. The drawing slides are pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to put a draggable in just so you can see what that looks like. I'm digging those pandas. Aren't they cute? Working, working, working. It shows again, teacher view, student view. So here are the options. I can create any one of these things, and they've got quite a menu. If you go across the top, there's math symbols, numbers. So you could have them put a 1 on something and a 2 on something, or sequence. Maybe you want to put the stages of the butterfly and they have to put the numbers on which stage goes when. Icons for people. Punctuation, which could be fun if you were actually working on punctuation with younger students, right? How is this needing to be punctuated? Put the right stuff in. But I'm just going to go with dots, and let's maybe pick, stars. And you can choose a color.
And the size.
How about purple? Add another. So let's add another. Let's add a heart. And we'll add the color. And yep, the size. So maybe we want the heart to be large. Oh, it does both of them at the same time. So there you go. Changes what it looks like. Update slide. And we're done. So that's the nutshell of all the tools.
We
talked about audio.
Yep, we got a question that came in. Is
Go
there a
ahead.
way to preview the student view when I add my own choices?
The best way, I would think, would be to just start it before you're done, right? So when you're ready to get your lesson rocking and you're ready to go. You've built this thing out and you want to give it a try. When I would use this in my classroom, I would try it as a student before I brought it in front of my kids, just to make sure all the slides work. If you go to start lesson at the top, you choose student paced, which means you could run it as a center, or instructor paced. We did instructor paced before. And this is what it looks like in the moment. And I can go back and forth through my slide and have a look. Wow, everything is really slow today. But it's doing a lot. It's creating those activities inside of it. It's initializing a code and a link for kids. So this is the teacher dashboard that popped up here that shows me all of their answers. I can close this out at the beginning and not worry about it being gone because I can bring it up at any time. Kids are going to go to joinpd.com. You can put that link right in your Google Classroom. Here is the fun little acronym that we talked about. But if I want to just pop the entire link to the entire presentation in, I can copy it to the clipboard. And Shauna, the best way to do the student view is to now take that link and pop it in up here and give it a shot myself, right? Try it. And you can go back and forth with 2 devices or 2 monitors or just trying it all back and forth between 2 tabs. The teacher dashboard is right down here. So if I lost it, I can bring it up at any time. Maybe I want to turn that off. This is the view that I'll have. Teacher dashboard, again, is not gone. If I go to the 3 dots over here on the far right, I can make it full screen, open it in a new window, open the dashboard on a new device. So if you're one of those lucky people that's got a tablet while you're teaching or a second device, you can even open it up on a second device while you're working. Turn on the student pace mode. So if we get partway through and I want them to keep working and I'm like called, the phone is ringing and I got to take that, I can let them kind of keep working in a self-paced mode. And I can end the session right from these 3 dots or right here where it says end. Let's try the new prompt on the fly as well. I've not shown you that. So if I get in the middle of my lesson, I'm like, oh, I should have. There's a KWL chart, super awesome. Reflection on today's activities, lots of prompts in here. The number prompt is right there. Very easy to use. There's almost too much to learn all in 1 hour, right? Are your creative wheels spinning? People are like nodding. Yeah, I want to get into this now, right?
Especially if you're a slides user already. I know that I was a huge slides user in my math class. So you're not recreating the wheel, you're adding on. That's the best.
Let's go right into Pear Deck and I'll show you where to get the reports. So when you're done and you've ended your session and you have data that you would like to look at, so maybe you let them work on it independently because the phone was ringing, it was the office, and they're barking at you again about not turning in your attendance on time. You answer the phone, kids are working independently, but now you need to see where they were at. So let's go in and look at that. This is Pear Deck's website, and this is where it gets a little confusing because you've got that dashboard in your slides, but it's also its standalone website. You're going to go to peardeck.com. And if you've not created a teacher login yet, this is where you're going to sign up for free. If you have one, this is where you sign in with your login. And this is where students can go as well to join a session. So when you click join a session as a student, this is where they enter those really goofy 6-letter codes with the fun acronyms. This is a simple site. I love that there's not a lot of distracting stuff here for them. I went back out too far. No, Pear Deck for Google Slides. Stop hyperclicking it. There we go. Teacher login, that's what we're looking for. And that website, tons of information, lots of different videos, GIFs, ways to teach you on the fly. So if you start building this after the webinar and you're like, I wish I could ask Rebecca and Todd this question, pop on over to Pear Deck. Chances are good, their help site. And I put that on that last page of the Fun Formative website slide deck for you to get to. And here it is. Once we've logged in, you can go to your drive So right from here, you can open up something to present. There's learning down at the bottom. They have a fun to read blog. They keep it kind of light and fluffy with some great topics. You can create a lesson from right in here. We're not even going to get into Flashcard Factory, but if you teach vocabulary because you are a language teacher, a math teacher, a content of anything teacher, you're teaching vocabulary, this is a fun thing where kids can work in teams. They create definitions for vocabulary words, and it's a fun little, it's a factory. The little icons put together the words, and they have to match the definitions. Really fun flashcard game, really fun. You can also deploy a single prompt right here. So if you're teaching on the fly and you're like, I didn't get time to make that exit ticket, you just click here and you can pop right into one. But let's go to the sessions, and this shows you all of the sessions that we've done lately. This is the webinar one that we saved. So I'm going to click on this session, and we can open up the dashboard. We can open up the projector. Let's just open up projector and see what that does. And it takes me right back where we left off. Fire drill happens in the middle of your lesson. You're like, wait a minute. Now what do I do? They didn't cover this in the webinar. We did. Here you go. You go right back to your saved session. Oh, and it closed. I closed out the wrong thing. I just wanted to go backwards.
Control-Shift-T.
I did, and it didn't bring it up. Nothing is working today, Todd. Everything is slow. Teacher login. There we go.
That's a fun one. Just so a tip on the side that's not Pear Deck related. If you hold down Control and Shift and then press T, it will open up the tab that you just closed out of.
Kind of glad it did that though, because it brought me back here. If I click these three dots, I can reopen it. I can rename it. I can archive it. I can reflect and review. So that's the Google Docs that we popped into the chat, or we can export it to a spreadsheet. So if I need to have the answers of each kid's response or each webinar attendee's response, there it is. I can see what it is. So as long as I can match these names to whoever it is, there we go. We can see what they did. So you could hold them accountable that way. You could say, I'm going to pick question number whatever, and it's going to be part of the grade today, your check-in. So how are we doing? Are there any questions? People fried? Is it too much?
Doesn't look like we don't have a lot of questions. I put, it was asked about the different slide templates, and I put the 3 links into the chat so that you guys can check those out, favorite them, put them in a folder.
You stop making everything from scratch. You don't have time for that. You need time to do other things like read a good book and be people. Their content orchard is another way to go. Some of these are made by Pear Deck, but there is another group of lessons that they have on here that were actually created by teachers. So there are fun ones in here from Flipgrid. There is a great, Be Internet Awesome, if you aren't familiar with it, is a great digital citizenship by Google, made by Google. And it's a game that kids love to play. Every once in a while, I'll get a call from one of my schools saying, like, we have a real issue with this 6th grade. They don't play nicely on the computer. Can you come to the rescue? Because we want to use technology, but behavior is getting in the way. And I pull one of these lessons out of my hat. It makes me look like I did hours of prep. The slides are all done. The game is pre-built. The kids have a good time. And I walk away after a 1-hour lesson, and the teacher can go to the site and get the next one and pick it up right from where I left off. Everybody wins. So this is fantastic. If you don't start the year off with these, I would encourage you to really look at them. They have them in Spanish as well. And it ties into curriculum that's on the Common Sense Media website. It's a similar topics that they hit. So if you have kids that need it to be revisited, their passwords and logins aren't secure, or they really aren't understanding what's private information and what isn't, you can hit it in 2 different ways. So it's backup. Newsella has pre-made activities that are already in here. And did I say that right? I'm never sure if it's Newsela or Newsella.
I always say New ZLA, but my
Me
wife's an
too.
English teacher, so I gotta deal with
Newsella.
that.
I've heard it both ways. I don't know what the right way is. PBS NewsHour. So sometimes there are controversial topics that you want to talk about. Slide decks are a great way to do it. Instead of having them talk out loud about the shooting in Texas or how they feel about lockdown drills, a tool like Pear Deck can help them have a conversation covertly. So it's a great way to do current events, right? I'm not familiar with facing history in ourselves. I get the sense that this has to do with a lot of current events as well. Everfi has fantastic curriculum, and I'm just starting to work with them. So they have career readiness, all kinds of future ready things for our middle school, upper elementary, and high school kids, financial well-being, wellness and safety, great stuff. And look, Canva built in right in here, Todd. I think I need to play with that later.
Big
Canva
Canva
science,
fan.
I'm going to look. Canva science templates, what do they have for us? Gives us the grade level. It gives us a little preview. Oh, life cycle of a butterfly. Look at that. And they're beautifully done. So if you really like this content, all you do is click, boom, use content, and it's yours. No cost, no muss, no fuss, no coconuts. I love it. We are in the last few minutes of the webinar. So now's the time to rack your brain for questions before we disappear for a little bit. Does anybody have
Questions,
anything
and
to
you know
share?
what? I would suggest, the last couple of minutes, just pull up a slide deck of your own, or just start from scratch, just with a blank slide, and start trying to put something into it to play around, so that maybe it prompts some questions.
I'm going to put the Google form in the chat. That feedback really does help us understand where to head next. So now that we've done one on Flipgrid and one on quizzes and one on Pear Deck, what else do you want to see? What can we help you with? Do we need a Pear Deck 101 or maybe a follow-up webinar on just, I want to build while you're online with me, so when I mess up, I know what to do, right? What can we do to further your learning? Ooh, icebreakers. I love that it's free. It's easy to use. Ooh, would you rather slides. Instead of having them get up during, are we allowed to do that? Where are we at with COVID? Can kids like move around the room and get into corners when we come back? Or is that like still taboo? I don't know. I'm not an administrator, thank goodness. But this would be easy to do here. The disadvantage is then you wouldn't know who would rather, you can maybe have them stand at their seat if they would rather, like, how do you know that Todd chose which one, right?
Right.
But
That
it's
would
a
be
fun tool.
reported, I think. Wouldn't it be? Well, no, it's the draggable piece. I forgot. In the spreadsheet at the end, it doesn't tell you where the dot actually was. It just says that it's a draggable.
Yep. So for would you rather, I think I would rather use Jamboard and have them create a sticky note, right? I
Something
think
like
that would be
that,
my
sure.
preferred tool. This one would be fun though. 3 truths or 2 truths and a lie. Kids love that because they look at you like, you want me to lie? I'm like, yeah, I want you to make a good one. What they don't know is I was really asking them, like, I want to know what your lies sound like so that I know you for the rest of the year. Show me your tell in September. Classmate bingo. Well, that would be fun. They could put their initials on something that they've done, right? So if it's a drawable, maybe that would be your would you rather fix, putting initials or class number on the choice. But we did better than I thought we would. I didn't think we were going to get through it all in an hour, but I think we squeezed it in by moving fast. I just hope it wasn't too
Absolutely.
fast. These are in the content orchard, but you can search these as well for lots of other things. We go back to home. Down here, learn and explore. Their blogs are just fantastic, like I said. So on SMART goals, some of these are free. This is where you get into freemium. So some of the things are free and some of them are not. And honestly, I don't know what the paid upgrades are with Pear Deck. I don't think I've run into the wall where I go like, oh, I don't get that. I have not hit that yet.
There's one piece, oh gosh, what's it called? It's a built-in game that they have. So there's a couple of them, if I remember correctly.
If only I had something
There
in
you
front of
go.
me that could answer the question.
Mm-hmm.
Remote learning resources, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't answer my question. Let's click the pricing tab. There we go. That's what we wanted. So free, brilliant lessons, work seamlessly with Google, control the pace of the class, enable students to join anonymously, keep students in sync with locks and timers, ready to teach templates, and flashcard factory. So for the paid upgrades, draggable and drawing responses are a paid upgrade. I have not had that issue. I'm a little shocked. Have you run into that, Todd?
No, but I will say that the majority of school districts are paying for Pear Deck.
Mm-hmm.
There's some sort of district-wide license. So check with your administrators if you don't know anything about it. You may be pleasantly surprised.
This is not a heavy cost, and they can purchase it for the whole school as well. It's a heavy cost if you're buying it. I meant for a school. It's not a heavy cost for the school district. They get textbook money, which they can also use for software. They get both things. So, Ashley
good
says that it was paid for her. The draw, voice, and drag and drop were paid. The on the fly looks like it's paid. But if I were an administrator and a teacher taught with this tool and said, you know, if I had the paid upgrade version, I could add these types of questions. And I love this tool. I've actually seen some very stingy administrators respond in a positive way to that kind of request. Right? It's on how you spin it.
Rebecca, we're
Another,
wrapping up. I'm going to put our email addresses into the chat if you're okay with that.
love it.
And if anybody has any questions as you're working on this going forward, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
I hope we've encouraged you to build today, play with slides. Slides has had a couple of little tiny micro updates that I noticed. Some fun things. So give it a whirl. Build out those templates. You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure working with everybody today. If you've not filled out the Google form, please do so. That's up in the chat.
And as
There it
always,
is
we'll
again.
hang out here. Yeah. We'll hang out here if anybody wants to stay on and turn on your mic and actually ask questions. If not, that's okay too.
They
It's a
all ran
good
out the
thing,
door.
Rebecca. Yeah, my Pear Deck is not working for some reason. I'm wondering what's going on.
I never hit stop. There we
Got
go.
a little glitch happening.